Hello, YouTube. It's your boy, the Passport Bro, Wimen, coming at you again with another YouTube video. And the title of this video mainly deals with feminine energy explained from a Passport Bro's view. And the way this video came about is there's a lot of confusion as far as when Kevin Samuels talked about being fit, friendly, and feminine. There's a lot of confusion about the word feminine. Like, what does that mean when a guy is describing what a feminine woman is? Because there's a lot of women who think just because they're a woman, that means that they're instantly like feminine. And even to the point where I was actually listening to another guy kind of debate like a passport bro. And so what they tried to do to try to find a definition of feminine, they went the opposite way. They say, okay, how you describe masculine? And so the guy said, if Steve Urkel is what you consider him masculine versus somebody like Idris Elba. And what he was getting at is, this is his view of what masculine would be, is that because Idris Elba is bigger than Urkel, that means he's more masculine. And I would say not necessarily. He's looking at it from like a physical standpoint, because that would just be like saying because Beyonce has a bigger butt than some woman who's just skinny and something like that, that means Beyonce is more feminine. Not necessarily. And also consider that some men like women very thin, and there's some men who like curves. So that's not necessarily what we're saying. So when we're saying we want women who are feminine, we're not saying that because the women overseas are more in shape, that necessarily means they're more feminine than American women. That's not what we're talking about. Though, as I said before, obviously the obesity rate in the United States is very high in comparison to other countries. But to your surprise, it is possible for a woman to be obese but still have a lot of feminine energy. She might not be fit, but she can be very feminine. Now, what I mean by feminine, we're generally talking about girly girl activities. He likes to participate in girly girl activities, opposed to dealing in mainly tomboyish type of activities. For example, a woman who likes you see her out in the garden planting flowers versus a woman who says, I want to be an MMA fighter. As you can see, there's two different energies there. One likes to be more in touch with her masculine energy. The other one likes to do things that are traditionally female activities. Not to say that men can't be out in the garden planting flowers, and not to say that a woman can necessarily here and there. Not to say that it can't be a feminine MMA fighter. Like, she might still do other feminine things. Like that MMA fighter might still cook and clean for her man, might put it down in the bedroom with her man, still submissive with him, but she just likes to fight. So not saying that you can't have a little bit here and there. So just keep in mind that to some degree, women might like to dib and dab and kind of both. But general, what we're trying to say is that, as I'm sure you're aware, most men would prefer to date a woman who is out there planting the flowers versus dating a woman who's a MMA fighter, for obvious reasons. Obviously, the woman who's in combat, you can potentially see how she may be combative with you more so than the woman who's out there planting flowers, because she has a lot of soft energy. She wants to be somewhat protected. And because, put it this way, if you engage in a lot of soft activities in general, you're not very athletic, that kind of thing. If you notice, the guys who tend to get a little bit more bullied in high school, if you notice, they don't tend to be as athletic. They tend to be more about their studies, and they're not as athletic. So a lot of times they wind up getting picked on because the guys kind of see them as a little bit more weaker than them. Even though, as I said, you be surprised. There are plenty of basketball players, very, very smart, do that kind of thing. But the whole point, only reason I'm bringing it up is to say that the reason why sometimes these guys look at them as weaker, because they see that they seem more vulnerable. Like, they're vulnerable to attack because they're not as athletic. They feel like they can't defend themselves as much. So there's a certain energy associated with that. So same thing with the woman who's planting flowers. Most men, when they see that, they see a woman who wants to be protected. They see a woman who might need direction, because out in the world, in the streets, there's war, there's rapists, there's gangbangers, there's people that want to harm. And when you look at her planting flowers, you can obviously see she has a very good heart. She's very sweet. She likes things that are pretty. So she's very, very in need of a man to protect her. So the masculine part of most men, when they see that, they're very attracted to that. Because they say, here's a woman who's not going to fight and go back and forth with me. She just wants to be protected, have a guy provide for her, and it looks like the perfect wife. Not to say that, again, there's a woman that'll plant flowers and they'll still cuss you out and do everything else. But the whole point is that a part of you will be more attracted to that because you feel like, because it kind of, one, it's traditional and it kind of feeds into what's been ingrained in your mind. If you think about the fact that most men, we grow up, you see things like Walt Disney, when you see things like Snow White, you see Ariel, what do you usually see them doing? They look very pretty, long hair. They're not out there in combat fighting men, that kind of thing. They're, they have a very protective father who's looking after them. That person as Jasmine, her father is overprotective, looking after them. She needs Aladdin, who is like this street guy to kind of look after her, protect her. He knows the ins and outs. He can show her around. So we grew up with that image in our mind about what is like a very feminine type woman. So to sum it up in general, would be tomboy energy versus girly girl energy. The girl, like I said, she's planting flowers, she's cooking, she's cleaning. When you think about when you're younger, let's say you scrape your knee, you're thinking about the woman who, oh, I'm so sorry that happened. Let me come in the house. Come in the house. You come in the house. She's dressing up your wound. She's bandaging it up. She might give you a little small talk like, oh, make sure you're careful when you're out here. Versus a woman who says, boy, stop that crying. Get out there and toughen up. That's very tomboyish type energy. Like, boy, you crying ain't that bad. That's the difference between the woman who's more in touch with her masculine frame versus her feminine frame. Men are looking for that motherly, feminine energy. The woman who is delicate, the woman who wants to be protected, the woman who wants a man that can provide for them, the woman who can care for them. Because as you know, in many cases, your wife, to some degree, is going to replace your mother. So a lot of times, as you know, which is kind of weird to think about, to some degree, most men are kind of replacing that part of their mother and their spouse to some degree. They're looking for somebody that can, when they have a hard day, they come home, they're looking for that comfort there. Somebody who's going to be that soft and sweet spot for them. They're not looking for a woman who seems like one of their friends. They're not trying to snuggle up with one of their buddies. So that's why a lot of times men are looking for that. But in this country, you see posters that say things like anything a man can do, a woman can do too. And they got the woman with her showing her bicep, looking very masculine and manly. You got women complaining about we don't get as many IT jobs and engineering jobs as you guys do, and it just consistently demonizing the men, and it's almost to the point where men are kind of taken for granted for the most part. That's the best way to put it. And then everything is always done from like a female-centered position. Whenever a breakup happens, it must have been the man's fault. There's all types of programs for the women, all types of programs for their mental health. There are literally no programs for there's not a lot of help support for most men. So what most men are looking for is a very soft woman they can come home to that can support them. But women saying things now they don't even want, sometimes there are even women who don't even want to take the last name of the man. They think that's sexist. So they're combating that. You got women saying, why should it be a man ruling the house? Even though biblically that's the way it has always been. Almost all ancient books have it where the man rule the household. You got women combating that. So it's almost like they don't want to allow you to take your traditional role in the household. Most men, they don't want to come home to a woman that's going to be combative. They're looking for that soft image they got of women when they were younger, and the media and the society is completely against that. But the thing is, when women travel overseas, the traditional roles are still intact. And once the men get there and they see how cooperative, how feminine, pretty much how affectionate, feminine also means affectionate. When they see how affectionate the women are, they're still willing to cook and clean for you. They appreciate you, the little things you do. they can accept you being a man, that men are men and women are women. Because in a lot of those countries, it's very, very dangerous. So a lot of times they're expecting you to take charge and protect them. So the part of the man's heart kind of really connects with that, and it just makes it like, it's very easy to fall in love with that. Then when you come back and the women are like almost wanting to fight men, they think they can fight men, they're cussing out men. You do anything, they're calling the police on you. Good luck doing that in other countries. In many cases, as I said before, I don't promote this, but you'll be surprised at how many men put hands on women and nothing happens to them. So what I'm saying is, women still know they can't fight men. You're gonna have to kind of find a feminine way to kind of deal with them. So they have a very slick way of dealing with men. They don't go directly at men. They find like a workaround way to deal with men, which is very feminine, which we can kind of respect and are attracted to, versus women here in the States, because they know they have the backing of the government and police. They can go head on with you, and they're more direct, and it's a very masculine type of energy. And most men don't want to deal with it, and most men feel emasculated when they're dealing with women like this. And as I said before, in most divorces, I believe that they were saying about 80% of them are initiated by the woman. So in many cases, any little feedback you're giving a woman, she's ready to leave. She's taking half of your stuff. She's taking the children. It's just not really worth it. And most men are just saying, because the government has pretty much weaponized them against most men, they just would rather deal with a woman who's more feminine and is cooperative and really can accept like their traditional role in the household. So that's what we mean by feminine. So to sum it up, we're looking for girly girls. We're not looking for tomboys. Not to say that a tomboy can't cook and clean, but what you're noticing is most American women are becoming more and more and more tomboyish and less girly girl, less and less in touch with their feminine energy. So that, to some degree, I'm going to sum it up on that. But you guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Tell me your view of what feminine energy really is. Hit the notification bell. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the thumbs up. And until next time, this is your boy, the Passport Bro, Wimen, signing off.